Captain, tupigie risto.
Mabron Jace. Yeah. Wacha ni washow vile msupa alinituma vitungu sokoni. Aja? Nilikuwa naenda kulamba bet juu ya game moja. Nikauliza, yani naweza lamba bet juu ya game moja? Alafu madhawa vitungu akadai, jamani su kesho tunabetika. Nikamuuliza, naweza jitoa tu? Mzee mkoko akatokea akadai, ni mara ngapi ndakushow? Na betika unaweza cash out na withdraw bila charges.
Ala? Eti cash out na no withdrawal charges?
Kabisa. Ukibetika unapata mo. Pata mo na betika.
Hii story imeletwa kwako na Betika, the official sponsors of happiness. Gambling can be addictive. Play responsibly. Not for persons under 18 years of age. This advert is authorized and regulated by the Betting Control and Licensing Board. License number BK281. Betika, jukwaa la mabingwa.
Hi everyone, this is Radull Live. Thanks for joining us. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Charles Goro. He is the head coach of our national deaf basketball team. Yes, you heard that right.
Yeah.
So, Charles, how are you doing?
I'm okay, Carol.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure meeting you also.
I'm a little bit ashamed that I've never watched our deaf basketball team play. I hope things are going to change. That is the aim of this show.
Yeah.
But for those who are watching, I want us to know a little bit more about our deaf national team, how it operates. But first of all, you're a basketballer by profession as well.
Yes, I'm a basketball.
You played basketball.
I played basketball for almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm a coach of basketball.
When you were playing, how was the situation when you were playing? Did you play in the national team? Did you play in a club? How did you get to start playing?
Okay, after high school, in fact, I got employed through basketball to join the Postal Corporation. That time it was called Kenya Post and Telecommunication. That's where I got my first work. So I used to play for Kenya Post and Telecommunication. We played for about 10 years. Then it split, came to Posta and Telecommunication. So I played for another 5 years. Then I retired in 1991. Started playing in 1995 competitively.
Wow, it's Kitambo.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm very rude. I did not introduce Damien. Damien Evans is here to do the translation as well, because we want people in this industry to also be able to understand what's happening on the show. Yeah. So, Charles, at what point, because you played basketball for the national team. Yeah. At what point did you decide, I'm going to coach the deaf team? How does that work? How does that transition work?
Coaching is deaf. Me, I was called upon. It's not that I came out to coach the deaf, because by the time I was being called, I was coaching. Right now, I'm a coach of KCA University. Yeah, and we're playing the Premier League. So that was in 2012. Even me, I had not interacted with the deaf community. I just used to see them. So me, I got a call while I was on my holiday in December that deaf team needs a coach. For me, I was shocked. Why me? I don't know anything about deaf. For a moment, I told them I can't do that. But they gave me, think about it, for about a week. Okay. So while I was still at home thinking about it, I said, okay, let me take it as a challenge and see. And that time I was coaching still KCA University. So after a week, they called me back again. In fact, it was a suggestion from the Kenya Basketball Federation, not even the Deaf Association. The one who came, the Secretary General was the one who called me. I said, okay, I'll take it as a challenge, but I don't know anything about deaf. Let me come and see what it's all about. Yeah, because that time they were preparing for the qualifier, African qualifier, to go for the Deaf Olympics in 2012, I think. Yeah. So that is, I came and for a moment it was confusing.
For a moment it was confusing. I'm sure, because for me, the natural thing for them to do is to get a coach who's also deaf, because then you can communicate with them. How has that been?
So when I came,
because you're not deaf.
I was not deaf, so they brought an interpreter. Yeah. for me. So I was with him for about 3 days. You know, deaf interpreters people also have got work to do. So me, I didn't know he was going to leave me alone there. So he was there for 3 days interpreting. But also me, I like languages. So I was very curious in interpreting. I was asking, what's that, what's that? Then I think also the players accepted me when they came. So on the 4th day, the guy didn't turn up. No?
It's just you and the team.
Yeah, I'm the team. No, yeah, I was, what do I do? So in the prayer, I'd learned a few signs. So I asked them, what I do? No? You find it, they don't, you continue, he'll help you out. So me, I was talking, so they look at my lips, you know, and trying to correct me what I said wrong, you know, like that. And after some time, I just got used to it.
Have you learned sign language yet?
Yeah, I went, learned sign language for some time, then I left. The ones I had was enough for me.
Was enough for you to communicate?
Because
Because I noticed you're using your hands a lot naturally. So it's something
Naturally.
that you've become used to.
Used to, yeah. So anytime I coach national team, they bring out interpreter. But since most of the players, I think they got used to me. So I don't actually sign correctly, but they always get what I do, because I can demonstrate. Some I speak a lot.
You're speaking broken English.
Broken English.
Broken sign language.
Yeah, and they get it. So what I found is, when I went for training for sign language, that push to coach them was getting away. So because I wanted to be on the other side, so I stopped going. But the few I'd learned could help me.
Could help you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the situation of deaf basketball in Kenya. Is there a league? How does it operate? How does deaf basketball operate? How are players recruited? Is there a league? How do you get players for the national team?
Okay, when I came in, there were some academies, I think, which were trying to coach them. So initially there was a coach who used to coach them. So they used to go around the estates, look for players, bring it to those camps, so they learn how to train. But they don't have pure coaching for deaf, or coaches who go around. But as per now I'm speaking, you'll find the association has made a lot of effort. There are teams in all the 47 counties, if not a half of them.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Plus, coaches who are hearing, they have volunteered. Some of them are brought to the hearing team. So you find there's a lot of pool of players who are coming up. That's what has helped them, but they don't have that pure structure on the ground.
There's no league structure.
There's no league structure, but they rely on the hearing league structures to develop their players. Okay.
Do they have their own tournaments? I mean, how? Because it's one thing to recruit players, but then they have to be playing regularly in a competitive environment.
Yeah. As per now, most of them are playing the local leagues. They don't count like in Mombasa.
So there's no special league for deaf basketball?
There's no special league.
Okay.
There's no special league. But from what I hear, they're trying to have that in the next maybe 1 or 2 years, so that they have a league for deaf. The challenge is the coaches, the challenge is the structure on the ground. But they have made an effort. All counties now have offices, and they're being supported by the county funds to have teams. Because I see in Mombasa, Machakos, there are so many teams. In fact, when you have a national trials, you can have almost 30 teams from different counties, towns. Yeah. But now there's still a lot of way for them to go. We used to have a team here, the Nairobi, who was playing to the provincial league. I used to coach them. But apparently the funds, the major problem is the funds. So funds Radull, they could not pay the league fee, then the team got disbanded.
Those are challenges, and we'll get into those challenges in a bit. Yeah. But you are now the head coach of the national deaf basketball team.
Yeah.
How are we ranked? Because I know we have been, I think, African champions before. I know we're scheduled to go for, are we going for the Deaf Olympics this year?
Yeah.
The Deaf Olympics this year in Brazil. How are we ranked, say, in the region, in the continent?
In the region, we are the first team in Africa, because we have been qualified for the past 2 Olympics.
How many teams do they take from Africa?
They're supposed to be 2, but normally there's only 1 qualified, because the first time Nigeria was supposed to come, they didn't come. So we went. 2017, we had a qualifying round with Uganda, Rwanda, and we won in Uganda. Okay, so we went for the 2017 Olympics. Now last year was a qualifying for 2021. It was postponed to 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there again, teams. I think Kenya is ranked. We are the top team in Africa because all the teams in Africa, they hardly make an attempt to come for these qualifiers. Okay. Kenya will take us.
So we're actually doing pretty well.
Pretty well, yeah. Because if we check the standard how we played in 2012 and 2017, it's totally we're improving quite a lot. Yeah.
You know, I feel embarrassed when this happens, where there are so many of these sports that we don't pay attention to, but they're actually excelling. Are you given recognition? Does the government give you any recognition? Because I've never, until last week when my producer told me, I think we should get the deaf basketball team. It's never been on my mind. I'm ashamed of that, by the way. I'm saying that, but I'm ashamed of that.
It has not, I've not seen where we recognized, but any disability, the government try to sponsor if they are approached. Because I've never seen, the only time they didn't sponsor, we were supposed to go for a World Cup championship in Poland, that's 2019. That's the time they didn't sponsor the team because we qualified by virtue of being African qualifiers, qualified in 2017, you know, for the Olympics. So given that slot. But they always come in to support the national team. But the local things, they don't support. It's now the federation, the association here for the deaf to deal with it. And you see now there's no sponsor, there's no funds. That's the major challenge. But that proper recognition, all the disabilities they recognize. But now who is going to follow and give the counterpart? That is not there.
Yeah, because we don't tend as a country to pay much attention to the leagues yet.
Yeah.
Our focus is usually, even on the sports that are highlighted, our focus is on the national team.
Yes.
But the national team comes from
the clubs.
From the clubs or the leagues.
From the leagues.
So
and there's no league for deaf. The clubs are not there. If they want to play, they have to join the hearing team for them to play. See?
In the national team.
Yeah.
This year, you're scheduled to go for Deaf Olympics?
Deaf Olympics, yeah.
How is the preparation going?
So far, I cannot say because the camp is not yet been called. Yeah, so people are still training with their clubs, wherever they are at home, in their regions, yeah.
But what's the plan? First of all, when are the Olympics? When are the Deaf Olympics?
I think it's from 1st May. To
1st May, that's in like 2 months.
Yeah, 1st May to 15th there.
And we're not training yet?
They have not called the camp yet.
Do you know when they're scheduled to call the camp?
No idea, no communication. But me, what I know, always the guy will come in 10 days to, okay, before the championship. That's when the guy will always come in to take footing. The rest of the days, 1 month, that should be done with the association. So how they're organizing, they have not told us anything. Because the team, the players are still within
their clubs.
Club.
But that's unfortunate because and I see this all the time with Malkia strikers. They're always like, okay, the government comes 2 weeks to the event, but that is not enough to prepare for
most federation associations, they don't have the money. Or if they have, it disappears. They don't have the money. Because actually, that's the policy of the government. They take 10 days to the championship or 2 weeks until the championship ends. The other days, the federation should take charge.
It is the federation who should take charge. Yeah. But as you say, the federation doesn't have any sponsorship anymore. But what I find is, I mean, people need to know that the corporates who come in to support sport, they're also advertising their products. So they want to put their money in an area where people are watching. And if me, Carol Radull, I don't even know much about deaf basketball, I can imagine the audience out there.
Yeah, that's why I had to come, because we need exposure.
You need exposure,
then
marketing.
Then another thing is, where do they play? Yeah. You know, if you don't have, like before the team got disbanded, there's a lot of interest, because every time in the news they see Deaf Kings beat hearing team. So there were people curious. They would come and ask, where is this deaf team? So we had a bit of a response. But now when the funds disappeared and the team disbanded, now people are just cropping darkness. They don't know where to find the team actually. So that's where the major problem is. The association make an effort.
The association needs to wake up.
They make an effort and see they have a club, even if there's no league for deaf, but there's a team playing in the hearing team. So there's that exposure. So people can You can always tell somebody like, you come and watch the team play. You know? And that's where the problem is.
In fact, right now, the association, with the Olympics coming in 2 months, they should be so loud. They should be approaching every single media house. They should be getting you and the players out there. You know, I mean, do you have social media platforms? Because that's another way to reach your audience.
I don't know whether they have. Yeah, I don't know if they have. Because me, once I'm done with that training, and I tend to let them do their own stuff. You can tell them.
I mean, that's not you as a head coach to focus on. But since you know the people in the association, you can take that message back to them.
Take to them. Now it's for them to follow up.
Tell them we want to be out there. In fact, there are things that you can do with national teams that we ignore as a country, just to hype up what you're doing, get the team together, take them to children's homes, you know, take them to watch a Premier League football game, you know, take them to places where they will interact with crowds get themselves in the newspaper, get themselves known, so that we can support them.
Last year, they were attending the 3-on-3 tournaments of the hearing. I think also that one gave them exposure. Yeah, so they need to get more to these tournaments. And actually the best one is the league.
It's the league,
It's the league, because that one is every weekend they're playing. So it's more of exposure to that. But they have challenges because most of them don't work. 3% don't work. And those who work cannot balance that. They come and train, and there's nothing they're getting, and they're lying on their small job for them.
Bills.
Yeah.
So there's still no money, so to speak.
That's what they're looking for.
So even when they're playing with clubs or league, it's like for fun.
It's for fun.
Quotes, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, because when you're coaching them, the league, so you have to foot some of the bills, transport, you have to buy them water, you know. So the extent you can reach. But training sites, also training facilities. Yeah, we had to talk to Tali gave us a court. We can train the morning hours until 2. Yeah, it's a CSR hotel. So that one, but they are not there in plenty. Because if somebody comes from Rongai wants to come to Tali, that's very expensive. So you need a sponsor to cater for those transport. Those are the challenges. Then they don't have the work.
Because you should be getting paid. I mean, even if you have the resources. Yeah. I'm sure in other countries, people who play any sport, that is what pays their bills. Yeah, because where we have gone for the Olympics, if you walk around that town or city, the facilities are there in plenty. Totally different. You can't go 3 kilometers to find a whole stadium, open court. World class.
And you just walk in and start training.
When you go for Olympics, all these international tournaments you've gone for, maybe not Africa, outside of Africa, how do we perform?
Our level is still low, but we are improving because those guys, they start early when the guys are still kids.
The development of the talent.
Yeah, the talent from when they're still very young. And then there's those age groups. As we don't do that. If you go to Nyangoma, the courts, you go to Karen Institute, you go to Asumbi, you go to Asumbi, you go to Western. The court might be there, but there's somebody who can nurture. But see now that's under college, where do you start from primary school, secondary school, colleges, those things start from there. For us to reach that level, I feel it's taken another, unless we have proper facilities on the ground, unless we have trained coaches who will start from them from the lower, okay, then that one we might manage, okay. In the next 30 years, if you want to go
2050,
if you want to go a shortcut, then maybe you have to look for outside the country. I'm sure there are devs outside there who play basketball, and they must be very, very good because of the facility available. Because you check Europe, America, the Orient, Asia, the level of basketball, I'm sure they can beat even our national team here. They're very, very good. But I'm happy. From 2012 to 2017, you could see the difference. We were being beaten by 100. When it came to 2017, all of them were below 100, 20 points. The guys were shocked, 20 points. I said, okay, you guys are improving, okay? Yeah. And I'm very sure this time, they're going to have very much difference.
This Olympics.
If we continue what I was trying to do with them, I'm sure they're going to be, because when you're going in for the qualifiers, the director noticed the difference, And they told us, with this, and you do this, I'm sure it'll give those guys the challenge. And so we know those areas.
Yeah, but you need to be in camp for that to happen. I want us to take a very short break. When you come back, I want you to tell us what more we can do to try and support this team so that it grows, so that the whole industry of deaf basketball grows. So we'll see you in just a bit. Don't go away.
Captain, tupigie Risto.
Mabron Jace. Yeah. Wacha ni washow vile msupa alinituma vitunguu sokoni. Aja. Nilikuwa naenda kulamba bet juu ya game moja. Nikauliza, yani naweza lamba bet juu ya game moja? Alafu madha wa vitunguu akadai, jamani su kesho kuna betika. Nikamuuliza, naweza jitoa tu? Mzee mkoko akatokea akadai, ni mara ngapi ndakushow? Na betika unaweza cash out na withdraw bila charges.
Ala? Eti cash out na no withdrawal charges?
Kabisa. Ukibetika unapata mo. Pata mo na betika.
Hii story imeletwa kwako na Betika, the official sponsors of happiness. Gambling can be addictive. Play responsibly. Not for persons under 18 years of age. This advert is authorized and regulated by the Betting Control and Licensing Board. License number BK281. Betika, jukwaa la mabingwa.
Welcome back. This is Radull Live, and we are brought to you courtesy of Betika. Remember, guys, with Betika, you can actually bet with a bob. 1 shilling, yes. The other good news is that when you withdraw your winnings, you get 100% of your winnings. There's no charge to withdraw your winnings. So, pata mo na Betika. I am here with Charles Goro, who is the head coach of the Kenya Deaf Basketball team. And of course, we have Damien, who's doing the translation, Damien Evans. Thank you, because we want the deaf community also to be able to watch this show. So, Charles, before the break, you were telling me about facilities that they have abroad that we don't have. What would be your wish list? Because we should be preparing for the Deaf Olympics in May. But as you've said, we don't have anything planned. What is your wish list before we go for the Olympics and then long term?
Okay. I would wish not before, I think by March. By March, at least they should be in camp. Not even March, I think by 2 weeks to by mid-February. So that we have about a month. Because if the games are starting in May.
It's already mid-February. It's already
no,
past.
It should be,
yes.
By beginning of March, they should be in camp.
Or by mid-March, they should be in camp.
So that have a longer time for training, because they have got a long way to go in terms of basketball, improvement. You need to teach them a lot of things to be able to be in a good path.
Do we ever have friendlies, international friendlies?
No.
Never?
If one friendly, we use our local teams, hearing teams.
That's unfortunate, because
then
that
is... Then the major thing, we lack facilities, standard facilities. Because the same challenge you had when you're having the African qualifiers, you have the same challenge when you're using Kasarani. There was no facility standard required, and now we have to use one basketball court, 2 teams. Imagine, men and women, 1 court. Kasarani Annex could not play. The floor was, the chips were off. So we used the main gym. 2 teams on it. It was bad. And
you're training for Olympics.
Olympics. So
which is the #1 sporting event in the world.
So facilities are not there. They are not well maintained. Okay. Apart from Nyayo, you have Kasarani. Where else? And all the teams wants to go there. Because there, if you are not in basketball, volleyball will be there training. Same with Nyayo. So you see, there's no facilities. Yeah. 2 is the finance. Most of these players don't work. They play basketball, yes. They have small jobs. Some are still relying the parents. So imagine upkeep. So transport, depending where it's coming from. Sometimes you have to spend 200 shillings. So that's another challenge. Okay.
You know, I always say some of the best sports people in Kenya don't play sport because they decided to get real jobs because you have bills to pay. The bills are not going anywhere.
You have food to eat. Yeah. So that's a very big challenge, finance, and how these people can take care of themselves to eat, transport. Because nobody stays within these facilities. If you're going to train Kasarani, someone coming from Ngong, check. Or somebody coming from Umoja, he wants to go to Nyayo. Imagine the transfer. And they don't have, they're not working. So the parents will not be able to provide. We have lost so many good players on that side because they cannot cater for themselves. So it forces them to stay at home.
And then the issue of having international friendlies, because I remember when I was speaking to Malkia strikers, and they were saying that's people always say when they go for world championships, they're just appearing, you know, they're just escorting other teams because we do well in Africa, then we go to the international tournament and we're beaten. But if you're not having friendlies with international clubs, you'll remain as good as.
That's a major problem.
Because if your friendlies, the national team is with clubs in Kenya, you will never be better than that level. You need better competition to challenge you.
I think that will come with the federations.
Yeah.
Because the government cannot sponsor to go and play a friendly. It's very hard.
Yeah.
You know, especially if maybe a club or national teams, you see, they take 10 days. The last time we had Harambee Stars for friendlies. So that's a big problem because the federation don't have sponsor, they don't have the finance to take their national team. Let's say we start in March. Now, maybe after 1 month, you want to take them to even Uganda. The expense itself, they cannot match. So you find we are stagnated. If you move, it's very small.
I wish, I mean, you're not in the federations, I can't put you on the spot on that, but I would love to know what the federation is doing to change that, because it would be nice if you go for international. Are there any international teams we actually beat when we go for the Olympics?
No, that I'm saying, their level is too high.
Their level is too high.
That I was talking about 30 years. It's too high.
And 30 years if we do the right thing.
If you do the right thing. Which means we'll be doing what? Starting with the kids of 5 years, 6 years coming that way. So it's fine when they are 18, now they know actually how to play basketball. Now we'll start with the junior, under 16, under 14, you see? So that exposure makes them become more professional. So when they are 19, they can play for the national team, but now they'll be good players. See?
Would you, I don't know how to say this politically correctly, because I just need to understand. Most of the people, most of the players in the deaf basketball team, have they been deaf from birth or they became deaf? How did it? Because if you're training from youth, it means you're getting kids who are already deaf.
Yes.
So I don't know how medically how it works.
Medically, there are categories. I might not be able to give you all, but what I know, there are categories of deaf. They are mute, totally mute deaf, born deaf. Yeah. Then there are, what do we call it? Post-deaf. And somebody's born hearing. After the age of 6, it becomes deaf. Then there are some who come deaf when they're in high school. Then some come deaf because of sickness. So those are very different. In fact, you'll find they can speak, but they cannot hear. So if you speak to them like this, they can know what you're speaking about. Then there are those stone deaf. They're born deaf, mute. Then there's a partial, then there's a level. Yeah.
And to qualify for the national team, is there a limit based on?
Yeah, there's a limit. They also done, it's called audiograph or something like that. They go and test the level of your deafness. So there's a level, if you pass, you cannot be termed as deaf, if you can hear. So there's a level. They must go for those certificates for those things. So if you don't have reached the level they want, you don't qualify as being a deaf. Medical, they must check. In fact, you must have that medical report when you're going for the Olympics. All of the players, they must be listed there. know the level.
Name some of the players. I just want you to give a shout out to some of the players who, some of our top players. Let us hear their names. What are their names? Who are they?
In national team now?
In the national team now.
Yeah, we have, we have Caleb Kabaka, we have Calvin Musalia, we have Ndoro Chaka, we have Elvis Ochieng, we have James Ogeka, we have Kenda,
Shout out.
Wilson Kenda, we have Wilson Kenda, we have Liki Nyabaro, we have Brian Okiring, who is a Maasai. We have,
Maasai is of height.
yeah. We have Wilson Obange. So that's I would like to meet this team before you go for Olympics. Maybe when you go into camp, when you go to camp, you can. They will let you know you can come and meet them.
Yeah, because
James is our tallest player. In fact, he's even taller than me. He's our 5-man. Yeah. Then there used to be Kabaka. Kabaka has retired. He's over 30. So we are looking for another one. We have. So if I categorize them, so we have Nyoro. He's from Coast. He's our point guard. Then we have Calvin. That's our another point guard. Then we have 3-man Leaky. He's our shooting guard. Brian Okiring is a shooting guard. Kenda Wilson is our 3-man power forward. We have Elvis Ochieng. That's our 3-man forward. Ogeka was our 5-man. Then we have Kabaka, was also our 5-man.
People, guys, cram these names. They're going for Olympics. Olympics, Deaf Olympics. Yeah. Has the team had a chance to interact with the men's national team?
No. Our men's national team hearing? No. In fact, our national team, they are way above us, but they never got a chance.
Yeah, but they should at least play with you, interact with you.
Yeah, we tried to organize, but see, that time there's a lot of COVID and there's a lot of protocols.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to organize for them. They had just come from a championship, I think. But
when
now...
at the Rwanda championship last
year.
So
that logistic, they come and, what do you do? Do the test, so there was no time. So, but a few of them came to watch the match.
Because it'd be nice if they came and interacted with you before the Olympics. Heck, you're going for the Olympics,
I think it's the COVID which brought all the...
Which brought all the restrictions.
Yeah, either they could have come and at least give them a pep talk.
Yeah.
Play with them. Because I remember Omanyala came when he just finished there. He came and had a talk with the guys.
That was fantastic. Yeah. I hosted Omanyala here last year before Olympics.
Yeah.
But that's nice. Well, I want to wish you the best. I mean, for me, this was like an introduction to deaf basketball.
Yeah.
I want people to know that you exist. You need their support. Guys, go and watch their games. They play with the main league sometimes, some of the players.
Yeah.
But we'll keep in touch, and so you let us know your calendar.
Yeah, so when it comes out from the federation, I'll let you know.
So that we can also let others know this is the calendar of the deaf basketball team. If you're in the area, go and watch them, go and support them. Because if corporates see crowds, that is when they'll get the interest. But I wish some corporates, because all corporates have CSR programs, they should just give you
the support.
They should just give you the support you need.
Yeah, but that will come with the federation. How much they want to push for this. But I would urge them also to try as much as possible. The players in Nairobi, even if they go to an extra mile, it's expensive, but they should sponsor them to the provincial league, which is here. Because the time we were playing there, they were much, much better. Yeah, much better. If in a league of 12, we finished 7th.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all. And we could beat the year. They could not believe it.
And the women's team, I know you're not involved with the women's team, but now that you're here, I'm sure you have an idea. How does the women's deaf basketball, do we have a national team?
Yeah, they have a national team. They are going to the Olympics.
They're also going for the Olympics.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, also going to the Olympics. So they're also not bad, but they go through the same process because lack of finance, support.
Same challenges.
Same challenges.
That's unfortunate.
For them it's even worse.
Yeah.
For them it's even worse. Women, at time, somebody plucks him and goes, come and cook for me. So
I don't mind cooking, but if that is their talent, it should also be supported.
Yeah.
In every
Some are
way.
very good. Like that lady's called who? Mercy Mideva. She's quite good.
Massimideva,
Massimideva.
superstar.
Yeah, she's quite good. With that limited size, she's a very good player. And then there's Penina. Then there's what's the other name?
Now they know you can't remember. Anyway, Charles, I just want to say thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having this chat. We need to put deaf basketball on the map. And I wish you all the best in your training, in camp. When you find it, I hope you get your camp in time. And when you go for the Deaf Olympics. I'm also happy for inviting us here. I was excited when I saw your name because I know you are a sport lady and you are well connected. Humbled. So this I could well connected. I don't know. But thank you so much. Thanks, Charles, for coming. Thank you to Damien for the translation. And I hope you guys learned something about deaf basketball in this country. They're going for Olympics. Olympics is the biggest sporting event in the world, you know. Athletes dream of going for the Olympics. This is the third time they are going. But we need to get a little bit serious about it. I hosted Andrew Amonde here. He was the captain of rugby sevens. Of rugby sevens, and one of the flag bearers, him and Massimo, during the Olympics. And he was saying the problem. I asked him, why didn't we do well in the Olympics? And he said, because Kenya thinks training for an event is a 2-week process. He says training for the Olympics is a 4-year process. You know, it's not a tournament. You know, it's the Olympics. You have to train for 4 years. Prepare for it. Prepare for it for 4 years. That's a saying 30 years, maybe we'll do something. Yeah, but I hope so. Things do need to change. But thanks for coming. I hope we can get a bit serious about sport here. That's the issue of Radull Live, to expose these sports and see what challenges they're going through, and hopefully we can do something about it. But thank you, Charles, for coming. Thank you, Damon, for the translation. And thank you for watching Radull Live every week. We will see you next week.